So my first job wasn't out of the ordinary, but it was odd nonetheless. I didn't mow lawns, I didn't babysit, I didn't even house sit for anyone. I didn't get my first job until I was in college. Any jobs I had had up until this point were either done for free, for food, for favors, or somewhere in between. Now this job wasn't glamorous by any means. I was going to be a busboy for my local bar and grill, and that's all they told me when I went in for my interview. At this point, I'm a college student and I just got a job. I couldn't be happier. I was an adult now. I mean, it's not like I wasn't trying to find a job, because I had. You know it's bad when your local Wally World or your local Golden Arches aren't hiring for simply breathing. So, I thought I was doing pretty good for myself. I go in for my first night, meet the people I'd be working with, meet some more of the management, and this is where the whole, hey, they left out a lot during the interview came back to bite me, because not only would I be the busboy, oh no, I'd be dishwasher, a server, bar back, an errand runner, and the busboy on top of all that. And all of this for the low price of, well, I made tips at least. So, looking back, this job didn't pay that great. Minimum wage where I was living during my college years was $7.25. So, the way the restaurant business works is as long as they make up that pay rate in any amount of capacity between regular pay and tips, they'll do it. So me getting paid $2.75 plus tips was kinda how it went for me. Fortunately, we were always busy on the weekend. That was the other odd thing, was they made the tips a collective pool to evenly distribute with each paycheck for all of us. So if one of our servers did extremely well on a weekend, we all made out extremely well on the weekend. There were a few instances when I was at the bar and grill that really prepared me to expect the unexpected. First moment that pops immediately to my mind is the night we had a patron collapse on us. Now, in this instance, I remember I was in the back washing dishes when all of a sudden 3 of our wait staff come running in and telling me, "Hey Rocky, we had a patron collapse. Watch the front door. When the paramedics get here, escort them in." And that's all they told me. I do as I'm told, walk through the back of house door that we had from the kitchen around to the front, and stood watch. The paramedics arrived in about 5 minutes. I escorted them to where the patron was, and it hurt me seeing that it was a regular patron of ours, and him and his wife were very nice people, but in that moment there was a collective sullen look on everyone in the group that we were all worried he wasn't going to pull through, which fortunately he did. He did pull through, and then he came back and he was like, "Hey, very sorry about that. That happens sometimes with my medical history." And we're like, "Oh, okay." Another moment that I remember was a time when we had to kick out no more than 7 drunks in one night. Going into this job, I knew to expect drunks to be a thing, but the frequency of them was something I was not expecting. Because we'd have weekends where everyone was good, well behaved, everyone had their responsible limit of drinks, and everything was good. And then there were other weekends where we'd have drunks everywhere. Basically, the police were on speed dial for us, just kind of like, "Hey, yeah, we got another one." An hour goes by. "Hey, yeah, we got another one." Repeat ad nauseum for a majority of the night, to the point where a cop basically just said, "Hey, I'm gonna stay here until you guys close for the night," which made everyone kind of sober up and be like, "Okay, we're good." So those are 2 main stories that I can remember off the top of my head. I knew to expect these sorts of things, but you never know when they're gonna happen. So that's why you always have to expect the unexpected and just kind of prepare yourself for that. No one's going to be prepared for every situation unless you're a doomsday prepper. That's kind of how it goes with work, I guess. So all this was going good. We were all doing pretty well for ourselves. we had made it to a point where the boss man sat all of us down and was kind of like, hey, we're all going to get a pay rise by the end of July. It's like, cool. More money, we're getting all of this good stuff, the company's doing well. I thought we were on the up and up. Clocked out on the night, said my goodbyes for the weekend, and went out to hang out with some of my friends and my brother.
3 days later.
So, I got a few messages from my managers saying, do not come into work tonight, the restaurant burned down. To which I responded, are you serious? To which they replied with a couple of photos of the charred remains of the building. So they were in fact very serious about what had just happened. So management explained to us what would be happening. We were out of work until they could rebuild the restaurant. Unfortunately, most of us were part-time, so we couldn't collect unemployment. We all had to give alibis as to where we were the night of the fire, and we all made the most of it by having a big party to kind of give one last hurrah to the restaurant. I look back on that job pretty fondly as it gave me some learning experience I hadn't had before in other jobs, like how a lot of customers are a bunch of self-entitled people. It's like, guys, you're expecting a 5-star restaurant, but this is a little bar and grill. You're not going to get that type of service here. The other thing I learned was there are so many wasteful people in our society. Me as a broke college kid, I got to bring home steak dinners, shrimp, crab cakes, lobster, even though I'm not the biggest fan of lobster, and so many other pieces of food that were dealt with in their own safe and sanitary way to make it safe and consumable. But there was so much wasted food. You guys treated me to some of the best meals I've had in a long time. So, we didn't hear anything about the job for a long time. By this point, I had gotten another job and just figured it was a lost cause. 6 years later, I hear from a friend of mine who works for one of the local law firms that actually covered the case for the insurance investigation on it. They said the owner skipped town and the owner was sleeping with some of the other waitresses and managers that we had. And this guy had a wife and 4 kids. And I'm just like, wow. How low of a human being do you have to be to do something like that? But I still look back to that first job as a humble little busboy and dishwasher, server, barback, errand runner. And I can't help but think of what would have been had we all not got fired. Thanks for listening in. This has been Rocky, and remember, y'all are beautiful.